National areas. And the most important thing is that there is a lottery involving that category for professional for-profit companies, and that means that there is no guarantee that you will get the H-1B. There is roughly about 450,000 people who have registered for the H-1B last year. Out of that total, maybe 130,000 were selected by U.S. immigration. And out of that 130, ultimately only 85,000 were calculated to have obtained the visa. So you can see that there's probably about a little bit over, close to 25 to 30% chance of being selected. And so, that is the first issue that many people have with the H-1B, is that there's really no guarantee, but the company has to submit a registration to see if there's going to be a selection. So what does an individual in Bangladesh do when they're trying to get the H-1B to come to work in the United States with a U.S. company and they're not selected? Well, oftentimes what individuals can do is that they can work for a related company abroad in Bangladesh that is what's considered an affiliated company, meaning that it has a shared ownership structure as the U.S. company. And then after working for that entity for 1 year, outside of the United States, working in a specialized knowledge capacity or as a manager or executive. A specialized knowledge meaning that there is something unique about the company, something that is some skill sets that you've gained while working at the company that is hard to replace, if you will. So if we can quantify that to U.S. immigration and explain what that specialized knowledge is, then we can do an intra-company transfer. This is the L-1B visa, and the process involves filing with U.S. immigration, gaining an approval, going to the U.S. consulate in Dhaka, and obtaining a visa to enter and start working in the United States. So there you see a general type of pathway that can get you to your ultimate goal of working in the United States. But once you're in the United States, what's the long-term plan? And that's part of what we've worked with Need about, and developing a plan so that individuals, once they come into the United States, will have a pathway towards permanent residency should they desire that. That pathway often involves multiple different routes, but typically it's going to be a employment-based sponsorship for what's called a labor certification. It's known in the United States as an EB2, Echo Bravo 2, or Echo Bravo 3. Now, this is a long process that takes several years to complete. And keep in mind that the H and the L visas that we've discussed are also of limited duration. The H-1B is for a maximum of 6 years, renewable in 3-year increments, but requires an amendment if you change certain job categories or move to different locations in the United States. You may have to do amendments, but ultimately you get 6 years of H-1B time. So initiating this labor certification is critical to gain additional time in the United States and be on a pathway for a green card for not just the individual employee, but also their family members that are dependents. So we can time things to make sure that everything is aligned, and that's part of our job to make sure that happens. And it is a long process. We work together for many years for a lot of our employees and our companies. Now, if an individual has extraordinary ability, meaning that they're the very top of their field, they have done peer review, written articles, or articles have been written about them and their skill sets, there are other categories that may be available for green card sponsorship. Similarly, there is something called the national interest waiver, where we can skip the labor certification, the long wait that's involved, by arguing that the work of this individual is in the national interest. For software developers and other similar IT roles, that may be a hard one to sell immigration on, but it is doable in certain contexts. But that's part of what we work on to assess and evaluate all the different options. But I think that's a good starting point for me to kind of give it to everyone to ask some questions if they would like on immigration. But I think that gives you a good overview of the H and the L and long-term planning.
All right. Thank you, Ashik. And thanks for joining in early in the morning. I know it's 7, what time? 7:30, right?
Yeah, yeah, no worries.
Okay. Now we're gonna open this floor for any type of question to Ashik or maybe to me. People are welcome to. Um, sorry, did you hear me? What I said? Okay, good. All right. Any question?
Sir, Shamim, one question in soon.
Okay.
Let's check the text box, chat box.
Okay. Let me check. Yeah. By the way, go ahead.
Today, it's my curiosity.
Yes.
Do you sponsor directly to apply for H1B
Yes. We sponsor
from Indeed?
from Indeed. One person is sitting beside you who
This
get
guy?
yeah. This guy get this.
Congratulations.
But it has to, like Ashik said, we apply, but there is a lottery.
A lot of them.
So when apply, if you are lucky, if you get it, then the whole process is started. We just started this process last year. That's what I was telling, that it is mostly for our employees, but for other IT professionals who have extraordinary experience and skill, we are also welcome them to communicate with us. Actually, Asif, there is a form, right? So that form, if people are interested, we can send this form and give us your information. Then we are gonna apply when it times come.
So I think there is two types of profiles there, maybe from US part and from outside of US part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. People
Can you
with a
explain
US, yeah, people with US master degree in STEM field as a preferred category.
Preferred means no lottery card.
No, they will also go through lottery.
So
There are
there
so
is-
many people, but somehow they get a more weight. I don't know detail. Maybe Ashik can tell, but they have a category. They're preferred. And then in general, the rest of the people are same. Who doesn't have US masters? Like when I went to USA, I didn't have US masters, but I get it. Rahul doesn't have US masters, he get it. Shaman also get.
What is the ratio percentage? One
Well, it depends with so many things. There is no ratio.
out of
But
three, one will get like this.
last year, it was out of 15, maybe.
15, 1 5.
No. Last year, I said that last year it was better. I don't remember, but you can just check GPT. Everything will be there. If you ask them, hey, how many people applied last year and how many get, how many rejected in lottery, you can easily get all the statistics.
Yeah, and Shamim, that's what I was as well.
Rough idea do you have?
Yeah, Ashik, go ahead.
Yeah, 450,000 was the estimate registrations, and about 130,000 were ultimately selected in the lottery. And out of that 130,000, about 85,000 get the visa. 20,000 are reserved for the U.S. Masters,
5:1.
roughly, and 65,000 are reserved for undergraduate degrees.
So which category you fall in? Looks like you're doing a lot of calculation.
That's I want to know.
I see there is a question from online. Let me read it from here. Okay. Question from online test. Okay. Not Lipi. Thank you for session. I come from a business background, but I hold a PGD in IT, postgraduate diploma. I also have 9+ years experience as a business analyst, including project implementation, and 2 years as a Power BI analyst. You mentioned that the CSE background is mandatory. With my experience, would I still be eligible? Are there specific skills I should focus on? Okay, Jahanara. Look, CSE background is not mandatory because I myself is non-CSE background and I went to USA with H1B visa in 2008, but it is preferred for our kind of like when we hire people in need, we prefer CSE background because that means they know academic background is there. It is easy later on to explain because if someone has a master's in CSE, then they don't need maybe 5 years job experience. Less years is okay. But if people like me who comes from non-IT background, we must need 5+ years experience, because then they convert that experience to US master degree or equivalent degree. So answer to your question is that CSE background is not mandatory, but for us, when we select people, before even going to lottery, we probably prefer CSE more. Okay, and then for you, I think you have a good experience and background skill set, especially if you are really good at data analysis or BI. Or BI is very popular technology, right? And it is growing with Azure and other. So if you are, like I said, you are very skilled, extraordinary skilled, then definitely we welcome you to try. Okay. And then next question. I work as a product manager for software company. I have the IT industry. Product manager role, I'm not sure much because it's not core technical skill set. Product manager is a very important role, right? Product manager actually like a mini CEO who build the product, right? But again, it's not like software engineer. So I think H1B is much more with the software engineer or IT professional. But Ashik, do you have any idea about the role of product manager?
So it depends on what your duties are. Ultimately, if it is a position that requires a degree to perform, that requires an analysis with the Department of Labor in the United States of what they determine for these positions. But it's certainly possible. I've sponsored product managers for software companies where they're able to get an H-1B as a bachelor's degree. Certainly, if you get a master's in the United States or a degree in the United States, one of the things that to keep in mind that's very helpful is that when you graduate, you get work authorization under your student capacity. That's called a F1, which is the student category. It's called an OPT, optional practical training. So students who graduate from the United States and they're in the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and that's your degree area, you can get up to 3 years of work authorization. So what students do is they'll graduate, they'll start working, they'll find a company that'll hire them. They work for up to 3 years, and every single one of those years they enter. And so that's how they're able to, have a good chance. And I think someone mentioned a 1 in 5 chance. Well, that's not, it's actually 135 selections, 135,000 selections out of about 450. So the odds last year were about 25+%. So, try that.
Yeah.
If you get a bachelor's in the United States, you'll get 3 years of work authorization as a student. And then if you do your master's after that, you could get additional time in the United States. While you wait for the H-1B. So there are many different pathways to try to get status for individuals in the United States. Product manager, in short, can work for an H-1B.
Okay. Thank you, Ashik. What did you say, Asif? Okay. Sure. So what Ashik said, I just want to repeat because sometimes my voice was breaking up. So yes, product manager, category, H1B is possible, but a lot of other things involved, right? Whether you have a US master degree or a master degree from here, right? But it is not like it is possible. Again, as an IT company, we always focus on only software people, but I think product manager is also part of the thing for H1B. And then I see question from Faiza. Hello, Faiza. So your question is related to masters. So I think for masters, pathway is straightforward, which is you're gonna get admission to US university, and there will be offer letter for F1 visa, and then you will get the visa. Right? The category is called F1. Ashik already mentioned. So if you wanted to apply, in USA for higher study, that means you have to communicate with the universities, seeing your CV and background. They allow you for the admission, then they're gonna give you F1. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ashik.
Yes, that's correct. You'd apply. You'd be admitted into a university in the United States. You would work with their international student advisors. You would apply for a U.S. F1 student visa at the U.S. consulate, and if they grant you that U.S. visa, you can then enter the United States to start.
Okay, thank you. And then Shyam Sharif, fresh graduate from on CSC. Should I focus on masters now, or should I focus on getting my work experience? Well, if you ask me, I don't, personally, I avoid academic, kind of like path track that much. So my answer is, yeah, don't waste your time with masters. Just go ahead and do job. You know, later on, if you think sometime you're gonna do masters, but we should really question that what all these degrees are doing nowadays. Even in Amazon and other places, and Google openly said that they don't even ask for university degree like undergrad, although we still prefer undergrad or graduation completion, because in Bangladesh, otherwise we don't know who knows what, right? The basic thing. But in USA, they never even ask, a lot of big companies, they never even ask to see my academic background or certification at all. All they want to know how much work I can do, how much experience I have. So if you don't have a plan with masters, just going for masters, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say that yes, since we have a 4 years bachelor degree, which is really good background, you should focus on professional certification, learning, build your career, earn some money, and then later on, if you have a lot of money, you can think to invest another masters or so. But of course, I understand different people have different perspective. So I'm just telling my opinion. Faiza, about work opportunity, should I apply for jobs there? First point is study. Well, like I said, if you go, Faiza, if you go with a student visa, primarily you are a student. So that means job is not related to student. But sometimes, student can do some on-campus job limited. But really, job is not related to student. Student should go there just to complete their study primarily. After they complete the study, USA has wonderful thing like Ashik said, they gave you 3 years or 2 years visa or work authorization without even H1B to work there, so that you can get practical experience. So that means if someone go to USA with masters, during masters they can do some, maybe they can find some RA or other job like research assistant to earn some money to survive, but it's not a lot and it's really hard to get that type of thing. After you complete your study, US will give you 3 years or 2 years option that hey, now go ahead and learn, do some job. Good professionals, what they do, they after masters F1 they convert it to OPT period. They find a good company, do job, get some practical experience. Then as soon as possible they convert to H1B, because H1B gives them actual job visa, not a limited time period. It's a 6 years, 3 years, 3 years. As soon as they get H1B, next target is hey, when can I get green card? Because H1B is still related to job. If you lose your job, you lose your visa. But once you convert to green card, you are pretty much done. Now, it doesn't matter. Then you can leave IT, go ahead and do some business or something else. Nobody will ask, right? And then eventually citizen. That's the pathway. Yes, Robin, we have an office. Actually, I'm sitting in that office. So our team will communicate with you guys with the further follow-up needed. So our office address or contact point, okay? All right. Thank you, everyone. Is there any other question from here? Okay. Thank you, Ashik. Thanks for joining. And thanks everyone again for joining this session. This is our first one, but eventually we're gonna communicate with everyone who registered with more information. And last point is that next year H1B application will be filed around March. So before that, we're gonna collect or finalize our list. Okay. So that's why we started this knowledge sharing session, as well as what it looks like as a global IT career. What does it look like? So we're gonna do more session, and we're gonna share more information later on through email and other way. Thank you, everyone. Bye.